Okay, people, today let's take a quick look at the Harvinger Studio Savage Crucible Frazetta Warrior with ball and chain. Oh, I've been waiting for this one. I said in a recent rewind that we are living in a golden age of barbarians, and I'm not going to complain whatsoever. Give me all of them. Bring them on. There's just something about some muscle men in some loincloths, fur, and heavy weapons. Looking at the front of the package, it's Frazetta. Of course, there's going to be some Frazetta. And oh boy, does this look good. I like how simple it is. There's no logos except for Frazetta's signature down here and license from Frazetta Junior Enterprises. It just lets the painting, the art, speak for itself. They save that for the side. Savage Crucible. And then on the other side, Warrior with ball and chain. What do we got on top? Warrior with ball. And then on bottom, Harvinger Studios. On the back, some words or quotes, and then a special thank you to Lori and Frank Frazetta Jr. of the Frazetta Art Museum. And don't forget, there is a warning: choking hazard, small parts. Don't put the muscle man with sharp, pointy objects in his hand in your mouth. That is reiterated on the bottom again, along with the Harvinger Studios, the UPC, and then this front flap does open with more words, another logo, and the window that gives you a look at the figure and all the accessories. I'm gonna get this open, see what's going on here. Opening the bottom flap, there's a thank you for your purchase. There is a please note that joints can become stiff during the shipping process due to drastic temperature changes. Please warm all joints before posing. And then a little look behind the map. On top of that, you flip it down and there's more warnings. Please do not put these in your mouth. Well, it's not a map, it's a insert with electricity. And there's this. It's a card of some kind. Tankard of Celebration with gaming stuff under it. I no clue what to do with this. This is an action figure though. I know what to do with this. I get to play with it. The first thing that catches my eye out of the package is these. And I couldn't help it because they just stood out. They're just some flat hook looking things that are ball jointed into the upper back. And I haven't tried it yet, but that is for the fur cape to hold that on, which I find very interesting and I'm eager to try, but I also had to give this a shot. If you don't want to use the cape and don't want those hanging around, you can pop those ball joints out. It does leave a hole in the back, along with these holes that are on the back of the shoulders, which I assume are for shoulder pads for different human type characters. This is the only human Savage Crucible figure I've gotten. But from the front and most of your pictures, it's clean. Now, I am gonna pop this back in because I am gonna try out the cape later in the review, and I don't want to mix these up. I don't want to get them swapped around. The second thing that caught my eye is the head and the helmet, and this just looks fantastic. I love the beat up metal look with this point up on top and then ornate gold across the brow and ringing around the horns. That is a soft material the horns are too. And focusing on those, I like how the brown fades into black at the tips. Gives it kind of a natural feel. But then there's the face. And this tough sumbitch, he's just walking into places and staring people down. He doesn't even have to say anything. He's just little shading around the eyes and kind of a scar or some kind of red hanging down. But what I like more than that is if you kick the head down a little, it almost looks like he's peering out from under the helmet. That illusion is ruined if you look at it down and you realize, oh, he's just looking down. But from some angles, it totally works. Looking at the rest of the body, it's just a big bulky bastard with a lot of muscle mass. It's not huge honking muscle, especially here in the chest. There's a leanness to it. It's when you get to the arms and you realize, oh, those biceps, those abs looking magnificent. And then below the waist, he doesn't skip leg day. Well, okay, there is a slight thinness at the knees because of the Harvinger Studios articulation scheme. And that could be perceived as a negative, but I also like how it flows because it comes down, you're not seeing a lot of joints. You can see the cuts here in the back, but not like usual double joints. That's even cleaner at the elbows where the joints are behind the plastic, the upper and lower arms. In fact, the sculpt of the elbow piece continues the anatomy, coming back here to kind of a point. And then on the front, the muscle continuing down keeps that from being too noticeable. You can still see the cuts, of course. We're talking about action figures, but it's clean. And that's what I'm going to keep going back to. Hell of a skin tone too, a bit bronzy, but then there is some shade work in the musculature down in the crevices. Kind of make those pop. It looks oily, like a bodybuilder type guy, but he's a barbarian. Bracer on the right arm has a darker color to it that ties into other aspects of the costume or the gear, the barbarian clothing. And then the gold studs tie back up to the helmet and then down to the crotch piece and over to this ring on the left arm, down to these studs on the bands around the boots, and then the necklace, or at least the piece hanging on the front, because there's also some teeth, some claws tied to a leather look, and that is rubbery, and it's floating around over the neck. Back down to the shorty shorts again, there's gold for this chain that is part of the rubber cover, and that has a nice fur sculpt to it, along with a dry brush to kind of lighten it up. But I love how the fake chain sculpted to the softer material matches up nicely with the real chain hanging down to the scabbard. There's metal loops going through these plastic loops. And look at the wear and tear on that. You have the darker color, you have the gold, but oh, it's so ornate, so nicely done. Same thing for this knife sheath here on the side. That is a more silver beat up metal look that ties up to the helmet. See how everything works here? It's so color coordinated. Because the band around the leg there is kind of a brownish color that doesn't quite match here or here, but does match the banding around the legs, or around the boots, I should say, where that has that same first sculpt of the crotch cover with that same kind of grayish dry brush on top. And then we talked about the gold studs, the brown, and then down to the boots or the shoes themselves that are wraps that kind of look leathery that ties back to here and here. And yeah, okay. The more I look, the more I realize this was really thought out, both on Frazetta's part and Harvinger Studios. Because engineering wise, we already talked about these hook things. We're going to test those out in a minute. But there's also some shoulder butterflies that I haven't seen in a while. This reminds me of older Toy Biz Marvel Legends. Remember the first Hulk and Thing figure? They hinged forward, and I think the pin is right here. But what I like about this is it gives you forward movement, but it also brings out this piece to again extend the muscles. Of course, it looks like a mechanism because it is, but the same paints, the same sculpt, it works. It allows him to get his arms, oh, okay, it doesn't need to go that far. I really pushed on it to get it to there, but that should just, yeah, go right back in. When I bring the weapons in, it's gonna look spectacular two-handing a weapon while having the arms forward. You don't see that with a lot of figures. The neck is a dumbbell joint, and I'm going to take the necklace off for a minute. Pop that back on. And I wanted to point that out because there is an incredible range of movement up here, especially for someone wearing a helmet. Shifting forward and back, side to side, around. Yeah, this is really, really nice. When I first got him out of the package, I, of course, went crank, how far can he kick, and then brought it back down. And after messing around with him for a bit, I realized, whoa, the hips are really visible, and it gets kind of narrow in there, and then I realized when I kicked the leg up, this rubber overlay pushed up out of the way to allow a kick that high. When you bring the leg down, you also have to drop the shorts back down, which is not a big deal. I'd much rather have that than have them kick about that far, which is where it starts to push. I will point out that I keep having to push the knife sheath either up or down. It likes to kick up to here or fall down below the muscle and then get around the ankle. But you see me manhandling this thing, just constant. I've gotten rowdy, and so I can't complain about that. That's just me doing it. And then, like I mentioned, the elbows and knees are interesting, very, very interesting. It takes a minute to get used to, but once you get posing around, yeah. Okay, they work, and that's the biggie. Since we are in the middle of articulation, I already showed the dumbbell there, can look up this far, and then shift forward and look down. So much tilt. Who needs slaying? Over here. Butterfly joint kicks forward that far. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates around with a hinge that, oh, very tight detense, goes up to there. I was gonna say swivel at the bicep, but it's not. This is a cover piece. It's the elbow that is pinned all the way through up to the shoulder. That has a double joint that gets to about right here. And then you can rotate that. But if you get the arm up and around and you want it to look a bit more natural, turn the bicep. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge up and down for a weapon wielding hand. Dumbbell joint at the mid torso, crunches about that far, arcs back, tilt, rotation, and then there's a ball joint at the waist for extra crunchiness, extra archiness, extra tiltiness, and extra rotation. Ball joint coming out to the hip, kicks forward, and again, this piece gets up and out of the way. If you keep pushing, you can get almost up to there, and then back and out. There is a thigh swivel that's sculpted up and over. Again, can be hidden by the shorts coming down. Double knee comes up to there. There is a swivel at the top of the ankle. Then a hinge below that goes that far, forward that far, front facing pin for rocker. Okay, for accessories, it was already on the body, but I'm putting the necklace back on just to have everything in place. In no particular order, first I'm bringing in the sword, and look at the gold handle. Once again, ties in to the whole color scheme. And then the beat to hell blade, that is a silver color. Which, guess what? Look at that. Bam. Hands are not super soft at all, but I just flex that open, put the sword in. And like I was talking about earlier, the two-handed sword pose with the arm straight forward. And that just looks tough as hell. But if you don't want them holding the sword and you just want to store it away, there is, of course, the scabbard on the back. And it's kind of a tight fit. You get to here, and there's not a snap or a lock. It's just tight. It's snug. It's not going to fall out. Next up is the knife, and you have your gold, you have your browns, you have your silvers. It just matches perfectly. And you can slip this down in this sheath. Moving to the shield next, again, there's a motif going on. There's some silver, there's dings, there's dents, there's studs, there's little hoops on the sides, and there is kind of a patina to it. I get a yellowish kind of feel from it. But flipping it over, there's your browns, there's your silver buckles sculpted in, and there's a grip. And I like that they didn't skimp on the inside either. It's not flat, it's not devoid of detail. There's the studs in there too, and the pitting and some little scratches and scrapes. I'm gonna flex the hand open and then try to get it on there real quick because there's not a lot of room to work with once you get to here. And into the hand. I said into the hand. I just noticed that there's another set of grip hands with side-to-side hinges. So maybe this is for holding other accessories that's not meant to be held out. Now I'm hitting the back of the shield. The easiest way would be to just do this, but then you can't get under the straps. The hinge up and down hand is a little thinner in the finger, so I was able to flex it open and then get it in there real quick. Ooh, okay. That looks good. Or maybe I should have used one of these open stiff hands. Nah, I got it on there. That's good. These are for killing men with your bare hands. I'm gonna leave the grip in because this is the warrior with ball and chain. Here's the ball and chain, and I will point out that this damn thing is pointy as hell. I was gonna joke about that being my blood, but that's the paint app that was already on it. Real chain with this dark color to it, and it's the same for the grip. You have the brown, but then the silver on the outside is shinier and it has a darker sheen to it than the other silvers. That's beautiful, but the downfall of it being real chain is that it just hangs. You won't be able to pose it around for action shots. It swings really nice because this actually has a little weight to it. And he looks badass standing there waiting for battle. Maybe some wire? Maybe add something to it? That looks intimidating though. The ball just sitting on the ground. He doesn't have to prepare. He doesn't have to rear back. You know you're dead already. As far as known accessories go, I still have this secret weapon in this black package. We'll get to that in a minute. The cape is really, really nice. It almost looks like tanned hide on the inside, and then the fur on the outside is very nicely scaled to 1/12. It doesn't look huge. It's almost like this is actual bear pelt in this Barbarian's world, not actual real bear pelt. You know what I mean. It's got some wires running down the side to make it more dynamic. and then it's frayed down at the bottom. It looks like it's been dragged on the ground. He's worn it forever, but I'm interested in seeing how it hooks. Oh, okay. There's some elastic bands there and there. They are very, very tight though. You can't just grab them and stretch them out and stick them on there. I have a feeling that, oh, can I get it around and under it? I'm just kind of blindly hooking at it and it's not working. Would it be considered cheating if I pop this off and hook it into the elastic band? Surely that was considered at some point during the planning stage. Okay, yeah, much easier. I can see what I'm doing. Get it up in there. Pow. That is a very interesting solution to putting a cape on a naked body, because now that I have it on there, you can't even see those hooks, but you still have the mobility. Well, yeah, there's a ball joint back here, so you can bring it up a little and down, but otherwise, you can't see it. That is kind of genius. And I'm going to be honest, out of the package, I thought, well, okay, it's a fur cape. I may put it on once and then take it off and pull these out and then have holes in the back, and he'll just be a naked barbarian. But now that I have this on here, it doesn't get in the way. It doesn't detract at all. It's fun. It adds so much to the figure. Oh, I'm going to have to find some way to get this to flail around, because the cape flowing in the wind, or even laying straight down if you want it to, bring this around here, and just possibilities, options. There's a lot to do here. Then finally, let's open up the secret weapon thing. Oh, whoa! That is downright magical. I love the fade from dark purple to light. That translucent black. Oh, it's even better like that. Dark silver metal to the grip and the guard and the pommel. I'm not going to give this to the Barbarian, but I'm definitely going to find a place for it, because hook, poke, jab, slice, stick into somebody and pull, and then you have this hook or push, and it's just like a big, or the back is sharp. Oh, I love this. Size-wise, the warrior stands at about, well, I'm going to guess where the top of his actual head is. It's probably about 6 3/4, but then up to the point on the helmet is 7 1/4, which scales great with the Savage Crucible Lemurian and then the Frazetta Girls Icons Fire and Ice Dark Wolf. I wish I had the Frazetta Girls Conan to compare to this, but I got the overseas exclusive version, and it is shipping very, very slow. But here's the Mezco 1/12 Collective Conan and the Boss Fight Studios Red Sonja. Here is Four Horsemen Mythic Legions and Spiro Toys Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, the NECA Dungeons and Dragons War Duke, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie Casey Jones. And then finally your standard retail 1/12 scale Hasbro Marvel Legends. Well, it's slightly larger, but not as large as Savage Crucible, and then the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Stormtrooper. So at the end of the day, I think I said it already, but this is impressive. It does take a minute to get used to the engineering. It has all the basics of your standard action figure, but things are changed a bit to where you have to acclimate to where things move, how far things move. But once you do that, it's fairly easy to pose around. I do wish the wires in the fur cape were a little heavier so it would hold the poses better, or drape where you want, or flow where you want. It does a good job at the moment, but it seems to want to straighten out as time goes on. But I'm pretty damn happy with how it turned out and how it looks on the figure. It just adds to. It's not in the way as I thought it would be. And yes, I did add a little bit of bendy wire to the ball and chain just for pictures. And hell, I may pose it like this. Oh, it's not even in frame, is it? I may put it on the shelf like this. I know it's not perfectly matched to the Frazetta painting, but I don't have that landscape either. But it's pretty dang close. And this thing, it just brings me so much joy. No. So now Death Dealer needs to come out, because I've seen that at the Savage Crucible booth at a few cons, and it's looking sweet. So just add more and more to this Barbarian Frazetta love fest we got going on currently, and I'm loving it. Bye.